Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Nancy Jean.
Hi, Terry. Is this fun?
This is fun. Welcome back, and I'm glad to be here.
I want you guys to know that when Terry and I first talked about this, I've been studying frequencies and vibrations coming onto the planet. I go all the way out to the big blue ray that came in last year that they called the oh my God wave. It was just one thing that came out of the void in the middle of the universe to the hum that's been coming over us for years. And as I keep telling people, it's like once the scientists can measure it, then everybody thinks it's okay, that we can, it's real. But we've been feeling those vibrations for years. And so
Yeah.
Terry and I wanted to talk about frequency and vibrations. And um, I just, uh, I just want to tell you guys, it's really, really powerful stuff. And after Terry and I set this show up, which was a couple weeks ago, Terry's very organized. I do everything the night before, but she's very organized. So. And after that, there's a guy named Anton, and Anton. You can Google him. Just got to put Anton in. He'll be the first one that shows up. His last name starts with a P. And he's from Ukraine, but he lives in Australia. He has the weirdest accent. But he does things, he does a lot of stuff on cosmology. So that's why I watch him, because he talks about those vibes and those things. But he also follows vibrations on the micro level. And I sent Terry a couple of articles that shows he had done recently about vibrations. And I sent her, the one I sent you today was how plants communicate with each other. And they suspected it, and they've known especially about mushrooms and fungi and all that stuff. But they now can see it. They found a way to see it. They can see that, if one plant over here is threatened, it sends a vibration over this plant, and you can actually see it go across their leaves. You can see the energy moving across their leaves and how they help each other. So it's not just us. It's the whole world's like this giant vibrating thing. And then the other one I sent you is the one on human cells. Did you like that one?
I loved that one. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And how each cell has a different frequency, or each group of
Each
cells.
cell type has its
Yeah.
frequencies. And what they're thinking now is they'll be able to invent medicines and use frequencies. Now, it's not like we don't already know this when we meditate, right?
Yeah.
But we'll be able to use frequencies. They'll be able to target it to parts of your body, so you won't have to go through all the nasty big pharma stuff.
And operations as well, surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about using an ultrasound machine with that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you about ultrasounds, and this is funny. And this little baby was I had my last child I had when I was in my 40s. So it was, they call it, of all things, they call it a geriatric pregnancy.
Mm.
I call it high risk. But anyway, they locked me up. The baby was 2 in April, and I went in to see the doctor in January, and she said, you're going upstairs. And I said, well, upstairs is the hospital. I think I'm going home. She said, no, you're not even going to go home and pack. You're going upstairs today, and you're not leaving till this baby comes. So every day from that day on until the little darling decided that it was going to come February 28th, or it weren't coming. And they would wait. They would get me up a couple times a day. They'd come and they'd do ultrasounds. Well, at first, little baby was like, okay, I'll let you look at stuff. But apparently it just bugged her. So she became the baby that like 3 techs would have to come in to try and track down, because she would like go scuba dive and go off and curl up in ways that they couldn't see what they wanted to see. Anyway, so when they were saying that about ultrasound, I went, oh, I know someone you could contact. They'll tell you all about it, how obnoxious that is.
That's funny. That's hilarious. I had the same with my daughter too.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I was 39,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a geriatric pregnancy, and and they did that. She had low amniotic fluid. I can't talk, but yeah, a lot of ultrasounds.
Yes,
Yeah.
every day.
Oh, I had to do once a week, and then they told me that's it. Finally,
Hmm.
yeah, you're
But
going.
you weren't strapped in a bed in the hospital, and they had to use a fancy equipment on you every day.
No, I wasn't. I was supposed to be home resting, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
I
See, I
had
couldn't have made it. I
renal.
was hypertensive before then, so this did not help.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it is that makes so much sense that we're all vibrating at
Hmm.
different frequencies, and then every cell group vibrating at different
Hmm.
frequencies. Um, and talking about the hertz too, you
Yeah, the
know,
hurts. Hmm.
yeah, of each one, and like it was interesting because they were able to say that your breast cells
Hmm.
vibrate at like I can't remember what it was, 170 or 120,
Hmm.
something which I would have thought 450 or something,
Hmm.
whatever. But anyway, that was quite interesting. And I have seen that there's going to be light frequencies that they're going to
Hmm.
use on us, and they're already doing some of that. They have the
Hmm.
light helmets and different things and things you can put on your face
Oh,
and
the red
yeah,
light stuff. Right. I talked
yeah.
to a dermatologist. She was a client, and she said that stuff really works. So I got a red white light wand, and I did it on one arm, and I didn't do it on the other. And within a month, you could tell so much difference in the crepiness that I had on the arm I wasn't doing it to.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
It does.
I
It stiffens up the collagen if you do it faithfully. I don't do it faithfully, obviously. I
yeah.
have the world's best double chin, but you know, oh, turkey thing. Um,
Yeah, I hear
yeah.
you.
Anyway, uh, but yeah, they really do. And I have a friend who got the whole little red light kind of booth thing around him, and he
Yeah.
would do that because
Wow.
he had so much trouble with his lungs and stuff.
I have one. Here, let me see what Teresa says to say. And that's why we don't gel with everyone. We actually clash with some people. Doesn't mean they're bad. They're just not meant for us.
That's true.
I love that, Teresa. Well, I don't love it if it happens to us, but I love it that you said that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I bought the mask and I
Yes.
used it on different parts of my body. You know what, you guys, if my crown chakra is burning, which that happens, right? These days, there's so much going on, or else
Hmm.
you'll go into deep meditation, or especially when all this energy first started coming on, I'd put it on top of my head
Yep.
and it would feel better.
Well, that's why you have such lovely, luscious hair because
Oh,
it really does help with people who are thinning hair. They now sell
oh,
they sell brushes that do that that touch your scalp now.
oh! I'm gonna have my son start using it then. Yeah,
Yeah, it
interesting.
works. I mean, there are some things, there are some genetic things that you just can't do a whole lot about. But
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot
I'm
going
sitting
on
here,
there.
I am so cold. It is so cold here. It's in the low 30s and it's raining.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, and it's been, well, it was 28 on Saturday.
Well, we're in a heat wave. It's 36 in the Midwest, and it's been like in the negatives in the aughts for about a
Hmm.
week solid.
Yep.
Oh, Kim C says definitely she can she could personally test the red light, come through thinning hair, and worked for you.
Hmm.
I'm gonna get the. Do you use? Is it a comb, Kim?
There's several different kinds you can get. I've done it around this part of my hair, which was thinning, and because of my keto, unfortunately, it if you don't take your collagen every day, it.
Ah,
And so, but I started thinning, and my hairdresser said, "Try that. You've got a red wand." And
oh, hey, why not?
hmm.
Yeah. Um. Well, talking about all these frequencies, how are you feeling these days? Do you feel the
Oh, I'm so past Pluto. I mean, May just it's like move, just go wherever you're supposed to go. I used to have a close friend named Helen who taught me astrology, and I used to call her up when things were going bad, and I'd say, "Can you pedal any faster? Get those planets moving."
That's it, isn't it? And then this is the 20th. Saturday was such an important portal
Yes.
with Pluto going into Aquarius.
So I celebrated by Sunday. Somebody commented at the beginning, were Scott and I ditching the Sunday show? No. Scott has either COVID or the flu.
Oh,
And he wrote me late on Saturday afternoon and said, I can't make this. Um, so that's why I put it, and he didn't put a notice out even to people. I put at least, closed due to illness, but
yeah.
and it wasn't my illness. But no, I'm feeling better. I mean, I don't like cold. I just
Yeah.
don't like it. And so I tend to go to bed for like forever when it's cold.
Yeah. If it's cold, it's jammy day.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a jammy day.
We used to call those big hair pajama days at Ruddle Consulting. When I was a political consultant, we'd have days when we just bag it, say we're not doing another thing right now. And it was called Big Hair Pajama Day.
I'll use that too.
Mm-hmm.
Willow Love has a total body enhancement at the gym, a combination of red light therapy and vibration therapy. When you look at all that, there's so much that's coming in, isn't there? That's
Mm-hmm.
this new wave of medicine has already
Mm-hmm.
started. Hi, Kelly. How are you? And Barb and Celtic Seer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been cold in New York where she
Oh,
is.
oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Candy
So
needs it at the gym too.
there are ways to tell where your vibrations are other than just sitting quietly in a space and meditating and stuff. And I'm going to show you something that Danny and I came up with. Yes, there it is. And it's a dowsing chart. And if you could see it more plainly, I can't get any closer or just disappears. But um, oh, I can turn on my other camera and show you on the table. Well, that doesn't turn it on. That turns everything off. Settings. I'll
Um,
get it down. I've only been doing this 3 years. Um, okay, there we go. This is the dowsing chart that Danny and I kind of created. And it's got numbers all around it. And the numbers that are most important when you're talking about your vibrations are from here to here. And this chart was actually created by a man who was very, very, very influential in pendulum work and dowsing in general. And he said, yeah, you guys can take it. Go ahead and use it however you want. And this is 100 and this is 10. And you just put an extra zero on these numbers. And if you start out by saying, what's my vibration today? It's over about 900, which would be right here. And then there's a little chart at the bottom, and this was Danny's doing. And he took this chart of vibrations, and at the bottom is red, which is like 10, and that's shame. And it goes all the way up to fully consciousness. 900 is uh, super, super truth, that I'm kind of in a good place. And there's like hell's here, purgatory's here, in betweens here, paradise, and then heaven. Anyway, you can kind of check your vibration. If you think, am I having a good vibe day or a bad vibe day? You can use this. If you want to find this dowsing chart, you can go to my website at www.crystaldirections.com. And there's resources. There's a little folder that says resources, and you can pull down this chart. And it looks just like this. And there's other things. You can do yes, no on this. You can do directions if you play with it a lot. And there's also a booklet up in the resources called Letter to Robin. And it was the guy who really sort of took off and did the whole pendulum dowsing thing. And she went away.
I'm
Oh,
here.
there she, okay.
I was hiding.
You can read that book and it tells you all the different things you can do with this. You can do like, what chances do I have in this job interview? Not just yes, no, but percentages and stuff. It's really a lot of fun. So that's another way to use your frequencies and your vibrations.
Yeah, crystalline energy. It's all crystalline, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Um, you had another website that you showed us a while back that I downloaded a bunch of charts from too, but I'm going to get this one too
Oh,
that were
that's
really
Subtil,
interesting.
Subtil.co.
Yeah.
That's a French company that gets grids, gets dowsing charts from all over the world. And they've got it for everything, like what kind of medicine should I be taking? What part of me is really hurting? I mean, it's if there's a way to douse for it, it's on there. I mean, really. The day I found it, I spent like 4 hours downloading the charts because they were so fascinating.
Oh, I did too. I think I might have broken my not my computer, but my printer running off a
Oh, I
whole bunch
know. I
of them.
don't print them all. I save them until I won't need them, because if you print them all, you'd have like, it would look like you'd look like the dictionary that's like that fat, you know?
I went there. I went there. Now I need a new
You did
computer.
that whole.
Thanks, Gerald. So Gerald pulled up Nancy Jean's website there.
Mhm.
Everybody probably knows that, but
No,
Crystal.
there's some people who don't. Some woman said, "How do I find out how to get in your tarot class? I've been looking all over." And I wrote her back today and I said, you open up my website, and I sent her the link for that. And I said, and then you go up in the upper right-hand corner, the big blue thing that says shop,
Yeah,
and you can find all the stuff that I do.
yeah, there is a lot. It's called the Dowsing Garden,
Mm-hmm.
Celtic Seer. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
And it also has the 3 questions that every person should ask themselves, especially if you're dowsing, because that is pulling in an energy beyond yourself. And it says, do I have permission to douse? Am I aligned with my higher self? And am I fully protected? And when I went back after I walked out just as COVID, well, about a month before COVID started, I quit reading at the vintage store because my guides told me if I went out in that, I would get sick and I could die because I have compromised lungs. So I went back to the store as a Halloween gift to the owner of the store and read cards at the store that day. And I set up all my stuff, including my dowsing chart, which I used to use there. And I did the 3 questions, do I have permission to douse? Yes. Perfectly fine. You can douse. Am I aligned with my higher self? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And then I said, am I fully protected? And it literally took the pendulum out of my hand and threw it across the store. And so I went, and you got to understand, when you work with vintage stuff, I used to make everybody clean everything. And I'd go around on the weekends. I worked there, and it was every weekend. I'd go around at sage and salt or spray with the dragon's blood. I had a bunch of different things I did. And it took me about 2.5 years to get the store really clear, because there was so much bad energy when I first went in there. And not personally to me, but it was just, it came in with people's clothes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it wasn't bad energy. There was one old woman who showed up, and I could sense she was there because I could smell her rose perfume. And I was talking to a lady on the store, and she said, yeah, I got a chance to go up in the attic of this house. And this woman had been very wealthy, and she had perfectly stored all of her clothes from the 1940s until the 80s. And then she quit being so fashionable. But you got to realize, Dallas was always a real fashion town. Besides Neiman's, we had Sakowitz and all those top name, Saks Fifth Avenue and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. All those stores sold here because there are people who'd pay that kind of money for clothes. I was not one of them, but there were some.
The Galleria.
And this woman had all these clothes in there. So Gretchen had gone through and picked out. The family called her because they said, we know you'll do well by her stuff. And so she had moved. I said, have you picked up another thing? And she was like, well, I went and bought all these clothes. So I said, I think the woman's here. Because I kept saying to everybody, does anybody else smell that rose smell? And nobody else did. So my daughter, who can see people that have passed over, I am not skilled that way. And I said, Casey, come by the store next Saturday when I'm there. And she told me exactly where the woman was standing, exactly what booth she was watching her stuff.
Wow. That's
So,
amazing.
but she was sweet. I told her, you can stay, hon. I have no problem with you. You know, when I go around spritzing with the dragon's blood, I said, you can stay. You can stay if you want to stay. But,
Yeah. Yeah. I used to go to Dallas on occasion, and
mhm.
they had it was a big deal to go to the Galleria. And
Yes,
they had, oh my God, that's Neiman's and Saks and
everything.
crazy. Yeah, just crazy, beautiful places. Yeah. Yeah, they're amazing stories like that, aren't they,
Hmm.
Gerald? Um, I still do a lot of thrifting and antique mall. I have a booth at an antique mall, and
Hmm.
I curate or cure everything in my car. Like
Right.
nothing comes in the house unless it's been there for 48 hours, and I have this
Hmm.
mantra that I do around it and stuff. Um, so I kind of try to keep it like that, but still there are times when I'll see something that is so totally cool, but I'll be like, that has a vibe, and I'm not even going to touch it.
Well,
But I see you.
yeah, Gretchen is pretty. She's really cool about it. She really understands how it all
Yeah.
works. And her big vendors, the ones that have been there for years,
Yeah.
they do also. But she had a woman who moved in, got a booth spot, and she'd been seemed like she had really cool stuff for a while. Then she went to the Caribbean and she brought back all of this voodoo stuff. And she was hanging cow jaw bones with dinglies on it and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was directly behind me. There was a whole string of Gretchen's claim to fame was she had the best supply of vintage cowboy boots for men and women, just unbelievable. And there was a whole line of cowboy boots between me and this woman, and I could feel sometimes the energy running up my back, and I'd say, "There's something in that booth," and so I'd go and I'd spritz around and try to clear it up, but it's it's not your stuff. We had African masks that this couple bought them and they thought they were decorative
Mm.
and they weren't. And it actually flew off of a pillar and flew across 2 aisles of the store and landed at this woman's feet. So Rob, who's one of the vendors, came around and said, Nancy, we need you. I'm like, okay. So so I said, I'm not touching it. You know, so
Yeah.
they went and got the big electrician's gloves that we had around there because it's an old Piggly Wiggly. That store's been there over 100 years.
Oh, I love that.
So Rob went and got the big electric gloves and hung it on the pillar. And then we put yellow salt and pink salt and a bunch of other stuff around the base of the pillar. And I told it, you're not going anywhere. And then I called Gretchen and said, tell him to come get it. And anyway, then I looked over and the woman was still standing there. And I said, it's okay, honey, it's going to go away. And she goes, oh, she said, I'm just trying to figure out. She said, what were you doing? So I was explaining to her, how I was sealing the energy in. And she says, I think I need to learn how to do that. And I said, why? And it was the second time in her life something had flown across the store at her.
Oh.
I mean, I get freaked out and I deal with this stuff. I just can't imagine what it'd be like to live that. Anyway, we talked about it. And it ended up, they got an expert in African masks to come evaluate these masks. And 4 of the ones they had bought were real masks from a real tribe. And the one that flew off the pillar was a mask that these guys wore when they killed people.
God, that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I know. So, I'm just saying. And I mean, every time Gretchen got any jewelry in, she had me do my thing to clear it all off.
When we lived in South Florida, I went to an art fair, and this woman had come in from the East Coast, and she would do etchings of gravestones. Why I thought that was it, they were beautiful. Like she'd just take charcoal.
Oh, the rubbing. She did rubbings.
Rubbings. Thank you. The rubbings. Yeah. And so she would bring those in, and I bought 2 of them and put them in a hallway in my house, and weird things started happening. And then one of my dogs, and he was an Australian Shepherd, and she was very, very intuitive. Like the other one was fine. He would go down the hallway, no problem. But it was a long, narrow hallway. And that other dog, it was like he was in a cartoon, and he would just run and couldn't get enough traction to go through it fast enough.
Mhm.
Just avoided
No,
that way with everything.
there's when I first got to the vintage store, um, there was a guy who was selling children's gravestones. And I said, those weren't made at Michael's, guys. And I told her those got to get out of here. So those disappeared the first week I was there. I was in a corner of the store and there was a big black uh, sort of, room divider things, those folding things that they had in the old days.
Yeah,
So they had
I
a
love
place
them.
where they could dress, that kind of thing. And it was black and it was in front of the window. So I thought it was keeping, and it was winter. I thought it was keeping the cold air out. And I kept hearing this roar, like when you have snow tires and you're driving on a regular street, that kind of sound. And I thought, it's cold out, but there cannot be that many people in Dallas, Texas with snow tires. I'm sorry, doesn't happen. So then I realized it was the screen. So I put a bunch of crystals between me and the screen. And when Gretchen got there, I just said, what's the deal with this screen, this black screen by me? And she goes, there's not a black screen by you. And she came back and everybody else could see where they'd taken some old Victorian sort of cutouts and sort of decoupage the screen. When I looked at it, I saw it was completely black.
Whoa.
And I said, can I get moved, please? I mean, I know it's my first day on the job, but and she so one of the guys who ran the record, the vintage records, the vintage vinyl part, he came back with the big electrical gloves and gathered the screen up and took it away. And then the roaring stopped. And then it was about 6 months later that they told me the story on that screen is they'd gotten it out of a house in East Dallas where there'd been a murder.
I knew that. When you were talking about that, I was like, there was
And I said, don't bring
guy.
those things by me because it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Amanda Carroll wants to know, she's buying some purple suede shoes, which I'm jealous. Used through Nextdoor. Would you review how to clear used shoes? They're $20 and a good brand.
Okay, there's a couple things you can use. You can use you can use smoke. You can use saging if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or you can. I have some sort of all-purpose misting bottle, and here it is. Da-da-da.
Yeah.
It's got dragon's blood in it.
Oh, better than this. This is rose water. Yeah.
No, it's not rose. You can use dragon's blood or Florida water, and Florida water has a really nice smell. Dragon's blood's a little bit musty for me, but I use it. Works effective, very effective on cats too. Keep them out of my office. And you can spray that around, and it's just spray it around where they are so that the essence of it. And if you want to go, you can go to my website too and go into resources. There's the Violet Flame, which is a very powerful prayer to clear up negative energy. And you can say that when you're doing it. If you're really pushed and you just don't have Florida water or dragon's blood or any of that stuff just hanging around, you can clap your hands. Just clap your hands all around it sharply and tell it. And somebody said, put your intentions on it. Put your intentions in it when you say that. But you have to take some sort of active stance to it. You just can't wish it away. You've got to do that.
Yeah. Barb wants to know, what is dragon's blood?
Dragon's blood is, let me see if I can find it. It's a botanical. That's dragon's blood. As you can tell, I have it. And it comes in a dropper, and you just mix it in water, and you just enough to get the fragrance, and that'll work.
Yeah.
And you can find it online.
Barbara wants to know, can you clear items with just intention?
No. I don't think so. I mean, not the stuff I'm talking about, the kind of crap that the energy they have in them. You can always, every day, you can bring in good intentions. You can hold on to a crystal and have a good intention. You can have a wand like this hanging around, grab onto it, and it will focus since it's a clear one, it will focus your intention around. What this one did when I first got this wand, and you can see the little cleavages and stuff in it. You can see the
Mhm.
little lines. When I first got this, it was crystal clear.
Wow.
And there's been so much every time we like I'm sure if I looked at it again right now, yeah, I can see it already. The energy shift we had Saturday, that stone absorbs that energy and records it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, Candy says if you practice distant Reiki, you can use one of the symbols to clear a space.
yes, and I'm going to have Candy on my show Thursday. We're going
Oh,
to
fun.
because
Yay.
what I don't know about Reiki would fill volumes.
Ditto. Ditto. We had um I had some monks that taught me this mantra. It's called Belly Lanjali, and it's a mantra for protection, and it
Mm-hmm.
clears away all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just you. I think that intention and an action, like
Yes,
you
like a
have to,
word or something that actually goes out into this space.
yeah, like Candy's talking about sending a form with it, but
Mm-hmm.
and it's Om Balilanjali, Om Balilanjali, Om Balilanjali, Om Balilanjali, Om Balilanjali. So that's 5 times. Then you start out at the crown chakra, the third eye,
Mm-hmm.
your lips, your throat, and then you
Mm-hmm.
and you blow out like that, like you're just sending it on. And my kids used to do that every night before they'd go to bed. We do the Lord's Prayer and
Much
that.
better than lay me down to sleep if I should die before I wake. I always thought that was the creepiest thing to make a small child say.
And
Really.
we had really weird things that we do, didn't we, when we think back to it? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The hangovers of Christianity. Do you want to put up the Penny Pierce?
I'm looking for it. Yeah, I just saw something here. I'm looking for. What number is she at?
She's I can put it up.
Can you? I don't know if you can.
Oh, you're right. I can't.
I need to give you powers.
Whoa. I can tell you what it says.
Okay.
And Penny Pierce wrote a book in 2019 before
Oh,
COVID.
this
Did you-
one. I'm sorry. I was looking for Penny Pierce, the person.
Okay.
Okay.
No, Notes from Penny Pierce in her book of frequencies. And this is in the introduction. And she's talking about as you go ahead and you change your frequency, what goes through. Spirit begins to emerges with your body, emotions, and mind. The second thing that happens is your frequencies will increase. And that's what you can use the frequency, the dowsing garden for. I'll think of it. And then 3 is personal and collective unconsciousness empties into your mind. You know, you can get out of your mind, you can bring things into your mind. And then 4th is you retrench. This is the hardest part. This is the part I think is the hardest. You retrench, refortify, resist, and resuppress. When you're doing these things, you'll get, I'm going to do that. And then you'll go back and do what you were doing before. And there's this whole cycle, the R's, the retrench, refortify, resist, and resuppress. And then eventually, as you keep pushing through, old structures break down and they just dissolve. All of a sudden, you're not craving food or you're getting bits of your life back into order. You stop, you let go, you relax, and you learn to love your truest self. And then you reemerge after that into the world like a phoenix. And this is when things get strange. Relationships, family, and group experiences are revolutionized. And then the 9th step, she said, you find when you're working with your frequency is enlightenment is grounded in every bit of matter. That's when you begin to understand how you're connected to absolutely everything. And her whole book is really good. It's like I said, it was printed in 2019, but she really is. She's a clairvoyant and empath, and she's British, and she really does a lot of good work. And her whole book is really how to go through those 9 steps, and it's really interesting.
I love those. Um, Yeah, it is interesting. I think most of us can see that, especially when you're talking about family relationships and
Hmm.
personal relationships, how they change and people might shy away from us, and then they kind of are drawn back. You
Hmm.
know, you get to a certain spot, and I mean, you might have boundaries around that and loving people where they're at in a different way.
Well, I had a friend who's a forensic anthropologist. She went back, divorced mother of two, and finished all that, and actually ended up following an African tribe around for like a year for her PhD. I mean, really weird stuff.
Cool.
Anyway, but she's very scientific. I mean, she's, and she always was. She's always the most matter of fact of the four of us that hung around in high school. Pam came to visit me for my 70th birthday. I had a big birthday party, and she's the one that could make it. And I was just building grids then.
Oh,
And so she was like, "How's this stuff work?" And I said, "Well, there's not a how-to manual. You just kind of have to do it." But anyway, she was at a point in her life where she had some family members she really wanted to build some bridges with. So I dragged her down to the crystal store. We pulled out the rose quartz I thought she needed, and she picked out the pieces she felt most attached to. And I showed her how to use sacred geometry to set up a pleasant balance of emotions around this whole issue. And I said, take it home? And she said, yeah. And her husband's was a federal judge. So she said her second husband, the good guy. Anyway, she said she took it home and she said, I'm setting this up in this corner of the den, and we're just going to leave it where it is. And she told me a couple of years later that things had turned around and she had managed to get back in touch and begin to build real bridges with family members she really wanted to do that with. But I said, of all the people, of the four of us, Bucky would have done it because we've known each other since we were 3, and she's doing that stuff again. Meg would do it because Meg's kind of crazy too. But Pammy, I didn't expect to do it. And she did come around. But that's when I was in that retrenching. That's when I was just first learning how to build grids. And it's kind of fun to see people from that far go in your life, except where you've come to.
it is, isn't it? You have
Mm-hmm.
friends that, they know you as Nancy Jean, this person, not Nancy Jean, intuitive, psychic, crystal goddess.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't know me as Nancy Jean. My Nancy Jean was it. That is my name, but I
Yeah.
never used my middle name until I needed to become a persona when I was working psychic fairs, and I didn't want to put my last name on
Yeah.
things. And so, not that I was suspicious of the clientele that came into psychic fairs. Yeah, I was. But so that's where Nancy Jean came from. So if anybody knows me as Nancy Jean, it's somebody who was far away from where I grew up. They just knew me as actually they knew me by a nickname off my last name. My nickname as a kid was Ruts.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was Long John. So I'm tall, and my last name was Johnson.
Yeah, it would be too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love
I love
she
singing bowls.
singing bowl. Yeah. Yeah. And again, frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Linda Frazier worked downtown Dallas for so many years ago. The law firm would have special luncheons at Neiman's.
And their luncheons were magnificent, and they still are. If you
Wow.
went to the Zodiac room, it's still there.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The Adolphus is still there. All of them are still there.
Before you had to rehome your fish, you play frequency music for them while you were gone at work. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. They really do react, animals. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had that same dog that was so intuitive. If he would see somebody, a police person usually
Mm-hmm.
that was carrying a gun, he knew intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
Or she did, and she would just bark like crazy. I mean, she would get so upset that somebody would be carrying a weapon. Yeah, and there's lots of good ways here that everybody's talking about to clear energy. Celtic seer asks, what's a good way besides sage?
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of good ways. There's burning sweet grass or waving it around,
Mm-hmm.
using, and when you're burning with sage, sometimes to use a feather.
Mm-hmm.
and get the corners and the closets,
Mm-hmm.
things we don't think about.
Yeah, you do. We have to do under your sinks and into every corner, and
Yeah.
under your in cabinets that might be open.
Yeah. Another big thing that I think people don't think about, especially when the weather is like this, is to open up your windows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when it's cold outside, just open them up for a few minutes during the day and let the old air out.
Yeah, my
Mm.
mom did that, and we grew up in Illinois, and she'd come in on a Saturday morning, and that was their day to open up your bedroom. Yeah, did not encourage you to jump right out of bed. Let me tell you.
No, it doesn't. I know. My kids think I'm crazy sometimes. They're like, well, your windows are open. I'm like, yep, getting that old stuff out. But
Mm-hmm.
it is a good cleansing. Um, oh, you do that and have a fan blowing the air. Oh, the air outside. That's a good idea. If you can give us the name of the frequency paper, that would be great. Um,
That paper, I pulled it out of this book. I pulled it out of the introduction to that book. I'll try to see the lady who does my website has disappeared for a while, so I'm going to have to figure out another way to get things in the resources. I don't have it. If you're really, really obsessing on that, you can email me at crystaldirections.nancyjean@gmail.com, and I'll send it to you because it's just a page on my computer.
yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of your highly sensitive dog,
That's the other one. This is the same dog reincarnated, the same
mm-hmm.
spirit. And that's why I keep calling her him, because now he's a he in this lifetime.
Ah,
But he is a healer. He heals. He used to sit on top of my late husband's head when he had the brain tumor.
mm-hmm.
And that's his job. That's what he came in to do. So he takes care of everybody. Closed doors, open windows, Amanda says.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Virginia Woolf.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, and then of course cleaning out our closets, but cleaning out our throat I think is really important right
Mm-hmm.
now. Like, we've been getting that a lot in meditation, and I've been talking to other readers that kind of feel that throat thing right now.
Well, there's a lot of specific illness in our ability to breathe in and breathe out.
Yeah.
You know, breathing in is called inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, when you fill your lungs up, it's an inspiration, and exhalation is, of course, when you breathe out. But that's where it comes from. The idea that you're bringing in that energy, and you need to do it.
Yeah. And I think with all the trauma in the last few years, I mean, between, leading up to the 45's presidency, before that, and then the pandemic and whatnot, it's a lot of fight or flight and a lot of trauma. So not exhaling completely.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing.
Right.
Up the cortisone. And somebody was talking about it. I think it was Hypnicity this morning, or no, it was Juno, about how that does something with your diaphragm. And a lot of people get heart attacks because of their diaphragm, which I'd never heard of before. But it was really interesting. Yeah. I wanted to see, there were a few other things that we starred. Teresa Ford said, and that's why we don't gel. Okay, got that one. Yeah, that was good. Celtic Seer. Full moon on 125 in Leo coming up on Thursday. Good time to clear energies.
Yeah, it's time to open it up to the light and say go.
Yeah. So I've got these, I buy these vintage buckets, and they're made of brass or copper.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll usually do a burn in one of those. I take it outside.
Yeah.
I don't do it inside. But and throw things in there. Like, I've been known to throw old pictures of people in there that I just want to let go of anything that happened there, and letters. And I'll even put a Kleenex in there if I've had a good crying spell. But that's another good way to clear an energy. Mary says, many times while dressing, I ask in a prayer that my clothes that I'm using for the day to protect me from weather elements and other energies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's an excellent one, Mary Thornberry. I love that. I love her name, Mary Thornberry.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty.
Yeah. Celtic Seer. Oh, we already did that one.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda says, I have driven demons away. I speak fiercely. You don't belong here. Go away. I taught my little son to do the same. My son is also psychic. Anyway, it works.
I know. My youngest came downstairs and said, something's upstairs that's getting in my machines. And that's how she makes her living is, doing computer security and encryption. Some little critter climbed in. And so I sent her upstairs. Well, she can't really use smoke around the computers because that's not good for computers. So she took my dragon's blood up there and she was saying that doing a nice rendition of the violet flame and everything. And finally, she threw her window open and just screamed, "Get the fuck out." Sorry, YouTube. I'm just quoting someone. And then slammed the window. And we all kind of felt it sort of leave the house.
Wow.
The kids don't mind what I do as long as I don't bring things home with me.
Yeah.
And I've only ever done that once. And I didn't even realize I had till I realized I had.
I think my kids are getting pretty welcoming about it.
Mm-hmm.
But especially my daughter, she's very intuitive and can do mediumship when she wants to and stuff. And I think a lot of kids are like that now. They're just waking up and they can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Deb says, I was remembering today back in 2020 when I would wake up and be reminded that 45 was in the White House and there was a pandemic. Definite trauma.
Yep.
Yeah. Love that, Deb. Glad that we're healing now.
Yes. Having leaders tell you to gargle bleach, it's not.
That was something, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, those, and I know someone now who works with the woman doctor who was trying to work with him. And she says she's so nice and she's so intelligent. She was just mortified, but she said if they hadn't stayed there and tried to work with him, they could walk him away from some. She said that was mild compared to stuff he thought they ought to do. Like, don't store the body in freezers, just burn them somewhere.
So he is living with abandonment in so many ways that, I mean, like abandonment of any social norms that we can think of, right?
Right.
A total narcissist, and yet, the opposite of that would be living in abandonment of any self-judgment on a different spectrum, which is what I always think, living in joy and wonder, and then living in, he's still affecting energy.
Oh yeah. And that's what, when he was running for office, I used to tell people in 16, don't say his name. Every time you say his name, it's that the Egyptians weren't wrong. As long as people keep saying somebody's name, they continue to survive and to thrive. And I used to just get so angry when people sit at my table and they want to talk about it. I said, no, I'm not going to read about that.
Yeah. Right. Hypnicity. Yeah. It's hard to understand the support, but Willa loves talking about the hertz, 528 hertz and 741.
Yeah, I've seen a long YouTube thing on what all the hertzes are and thing. And today, another reader who's from Australia, whose name is not Marianne, she was talking about how she knew nothing about frequencies, just nothing, but she was being warned to, and she went to listen to some. And she said they all have rain and waves, and all of a sudden a bird starts chirping in the middle of them. And I have the same problem she does. I was unfortunately potty trained by a woman who thought running water in the bathroom was a good idea when you're being potty trained. So I can't even live where there are fountains. I mean, it just makes me want to run and find the bathroom. And so when I listen to meditate, I listen to things to make sure they're not going to, hi, Dr. Gail, that they're not going to have running water or anything like that in them, because it's a guaranteed 4 a.m. trip for me somewhere.
Yeah, ditto. So I see frequencies. Do you see them? Like a .. //
No.
Yeah. It's I guess are those binary beads, I think are what
Mm-hmm.
they're called.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I can see them when I listen to the Hertz sometimes
Oh, okay.
at a sound bath and whatnot. So there's I think we all get like different sensations of them. We know them, we feel them,
Mm-hmm. And
we
if
hear
you
them.
ever get the chance to go to a sound bath to hear the singing bowls, the big orchestrated singing bowls, do not pass up that opportunity. It is so incredible when they start, when that noise, the vibrations start building up and going through you. They'll find the part of your body that needs to be touched.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an interesting thing happen a few years back, and I walked into the yoga studio that I was going to, and they
Mm-hmm.
were having a sound bath, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And I guess these two amazing artists, were from out of town. They decided to do it at the last minute because their other location fell through. I was the only one that showed up. So I just laid down in between them, and I one at one
Oh
side of the
God.
studio and the other at the other, and it was just
Yeah.
all about me, 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 me.
Mm-hmm. The way the universe wanted it to be. I had
Yeah.
a I had an acupuncturist she teamed up with a woman who did the singing bowls, and they had us come to this studio that actually had reclining chairs and stuff. And
Oh,
she went around and she did her acupuncture thing while the woman was doing the bowls, and it was unreal.
whoa. Yeah. That would be amazing. So I don't know if anybody else here has tried it. I've got these mats, the grounding mats.
I've got grounding. I've got one in my bed and I've got one under my desk that my feet are on right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got one over here in the corner, and I can't sleep on it because it keeps me up. But it's so much energy. But it's
Mm-hmm.
you plug it into the ground thing of the outlet,
Mm-hmm.
and it releases a frequency,
Mm-hmm.
and they're amazing, really amazing. Yeah.
It helped with I had neuropathy in the bottom of my feet, and that's why I have the one under my desk. But I also it just I all of a sudden could I really got to a point where sleeping was my decided for my life it was going to be optional, and I'd try anything, and then it really worked. It's not terribly expensive, just fits right under your mattress, and
Yeah, they and they've come down a lot, you guys. You can buy them on Amazon.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, an earthing mat, same thing, hypnicity, right? Yeah,
Right. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I bought them when they were called earthing mats, and too, and they were you couldn't find them very many places. But
Yeah, I saw a documentary on the guy who came up with that.
I met him a few times. He and his
Oh,
wife.
he's funny.
Yeah, he's good. So they made a chair that I totally thought about buying, except for I couldn't afford it. But I thought about it. But it's a reclining chair, and it has that frequency going through it. And then I was at this retreat, and you could try it out. They were letting people test them, and then he had a weighted blanket that he would put on top of you, and you could just take a little rest in that
I'd
thing.
never get up again.
I came so close to buying one, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
this is such a huge investment for me, but um, it was like amazing, just amazing, and I didn't have much room for it. It was big. Um, yeah, so everybody's talking about the Himalayan salt in your
Mm-hmm.
bathtub and blocks under your feet. Julie uses those, and salt is a great conductor, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and water. Yeah, and salt and water together. Um, the other thing that I've started using again that I kind of got away from, and I know probably everybody else here is using a lot, is scents, like the smells.
Aromatherapy.
Thank you, aromatherapy. Yeah, and I guess I just kind of forgot about it. I don't know. You get into a roll on something and then you forget about it.
I use a lavender roll on. It looks like a little, and this thing's lasted for years. I kind of wonder if it's attached to something else because it never goes away. But it really, really helps at night to go to sleep.
I have had this bottle of rose water for like 3 years, and I use it
Mm-hmm.
almost every day, the spray.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still 3/4 full. It's just one of those weird things. Um, oh, I've heard this too about the stainless steel spoons on your feet and
Mm-hmm.
what that helps to ground. Interesting.
I don't know. I have enough trouble rubbing the bottom of my feet. I'm not sure I'd be coordinated enough to do that at this point.
Yeah. It's not always easy to take my socks off. Jackie says, my 23-year-old daughter lives with chronic pain. She has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And with that, she has full body pain and neuropathy. I wonder if this might help her.
You can go read up on it and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you get it from Amazon and it doesn't work, you can give it back to them in 30 days and they don't ask questions.
Yeah. So I think, what was that movie that doctor made? Was it Earthing? I can't remember
Yes.
the name
Mm-hmm.
now. Earthing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jackie, I know you can find that probably on YouTube, Earthing, the movie or the show. It's not very long. And he talks about it. There's supposed to be a lot of it with that, but I haven't done tuning forks yet either.
I have a friend who used to use them. He learned how to use them a long time ago, and he doesn't use them now. And somebody, Dr. Gale, knows also, and he ought to use them, but he doesn't. But he used to swear by them.
Yeah. Yeah. Essential oils you've used for 40 years, Earth Mama. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a client who just finished her, like, getting her master's class in aromatherapy, and I can't wait to talk to her about how all that works out.
Wow. Yeah. Somebody's talking about the plane that ran out of gas. I don't think I've heard of that.
What?
I know. I'm trying to find it. Was it you, Sonia? Oh, Lori. Jonathan Livingston Seagull moments. I will never forget the plane that never ran out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all like energy is here.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't use it, it'll just give us something. I mean,
Right.
Sue taught me that a long time ago that, use your intentions, decide what you want, because if not, you're going to get something. Energy is constantly in motion. That's why, like, we see so many narcissists that have billions of dollars or millions of
Mm-hmm.
dollars because they know how to use the energy. They may not have great intentions, but energy is not judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good or bad. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Thomas, how are you? Um, yeah, everybody's talking about Dr. Gale on the Jeff Morris show. That was really good.
Yes. Out.
Well, this was lovely again.
And do look at. Don't get so I'm going to watch only readers or whatever. Watch a wide variety of things because I find I get some of the best information about what's happening in the rest of the world and how it ties together with me from some of the cosmologists. And I realize no one wants to sit around and listen to a lecture on quantum physics, but it is what runs us. I mean, there's a big chunk of it. And so just having a smattering of information about it to understand it can really help you focus your own energy better. Yes, Miss Teri.
Oh, sorry. There's some great articles in Scientific America too,
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of this stuff because science and consciousness are kind of coming together. It's still a little bit shifty here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
scientists are recognizing consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's all coming together at the end.
yeah, and more so as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Well, it's been fun.
it's been a blast. Yeah, thank you for coming, and this was a joy. And thank you, everyone, for being here and all the moderators.
Mm-hmm.
Please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. So, Nancy Jean does private readings. I've had one before from her, and they're
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And her
I'm
grid work.
still doing my 12-month readings, and there is, as of today, one spot left in my tarot class. It starts tomorrow night, and it's 6 weeks of tarot training. If you don't know anything about tarot, you'll be able to read cards at the end. And I've taught this for over 30 years. You will be able to read cards at the end of this. I teach it with Jeffrey Ripe Color from Right Color, and so you get 2 points of view. I read reverses; he doesn't. So it's kind of interesting when people see how the different cards lay out. And it's pure tarot. We do discuss oracle cards and what they do, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing my new class people. And so, like, you can go to my website, and in the shop, that's where all the stuff happens, you can go find an opening there if you want to come do that. And then later this spring, I'm going to break down and create a curriculum to understand sacred geometry, crystals, and how to build your own grids.
I'll take that. I love that. That's amazing. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so very much. Have a great day. We'll see you
Okay.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.